So, are trans guys allowed to go into lesbian bars? At what point do you move from a butch lesbian to a male ally?
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to talk about lesbians because for some reason everyone forgot what a lesbian is. So, before we move forward, I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe and to comment and to ring the bell thing and do all those things. So, I'm going to make this one a little more lighthearted than the last couple ones because I just feel like laughing at this, even though it's actually not a laughing matter. So let's just get right into this. And I have this first one, which actually blows my mind.
Being a lesbian doesn't mean that you have to be a woman. Like that, the term is fluid.
Some people would fight you in the comments.
I know. Oh, people are gonna be so mad at me. I know.
I just watched a whole Jubilee video and it was like conservative lesbians versus like leftist lesbians. And that was like one of the hugest points of contention was, can non-binary genderqueer people still be included in the lesbian umbrella? Conservatives obviously were saying no. Leftists were saying yes. And in my opinion, I think like labels are very personal to people. And I think they evolve and change. And like sometimes it like doesn't actually feel right for you. And then you're like, oops, maybe am I proving you right? I don't know. I did the same thing. Like I was like, I feel like I'm a bisexual lesbian. And like so many people got really pissed in the comments. And I'm like, honestly, you might have been kind of right. Like I don't actually feel that anymore. But it was part of my journey.
People get upset because they have their own definition.
Yes.
And they have been like, okay, well, my definition of lesbian is this. So if you're saying that you have a different definition, then that makes me wrong. So you must be wrong. And now I'm going to make sure that I'm going to change your mind.
I want to scream. First off, I mean, I just can't even believe all the gibberish that just came out of these three women's mouths. It's just actually shocking. And the actual definition of a lesbian is a woman. Here, let me actually bring that up for you. Let me just bring it up, okay? So it's not just me and my opinion. This is a fact. A lesbian is a woman who is primarily sexually, romantically, or emotionally attracted to other women. Period. So go ahead and identify however you want to identify, but that does not make you a lesbian. Now, I'm going to say something a little bit controversial right now after this person just said all this stuff, this gibberish nonsense about what it means to be a lesbian, that anyone can be a lesbian, and it's their choice of identity. Now, that's an actual black woman. What if I decided that I wanted to identify as a black man? Seriously. I mean, they're really making these statements that anyone could choose who they want to be. And that's how ridiculous that statement is. And I'm pretty sure this black woman would get very mad at me if I decided one day that I just wanted to identify as maybe a black woman or a black man. It's not right. I can't do that. That is not actually what a black woman or man is, okay? I'm not black, so I can't do that. So why can somebody who's not a lesbian identify as a lesbian when it's an actual factual thing? This is how ridiculous the whole statement is. It's actually, number one, it's absurd. Number two, it's actually disrespectful to lesbians. I personally am not okay with it. I did identify and was a lesbian until I transitioned to live my life as a man. Okay, by living my life as a man, I've chosen to be respectful to that space, though if I wanted to be a lesbian, I could because I'm biologically female. It's not complicated, people. You're the ones making it complicated, okay? It's why a trans woman who decides she wants to be a lesbian is not really a lesbian because you're biologically male. The problem's happening here is that you're encroaching on other people's spaces. Okay, you've got to look at that. It is not okay. When you just start saying anyone can identify as anything, I just made that point by saying I'm a black man or I'm a black woman. It's insulting and wrong. Not anyone can be a lesbian. So I get so mad about it, as you can see, because I come from that space. I know how important that space is to people, especially for women. It's very, 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 very important for gay women to have their space and stop encroaching on their space. So, okay, here, now, I personally don't believe trans men can be lesbians. I just don't. I do not believe it. I believe once you decide to transition to live your life as a trans man or a man, you've given up your rights to that space. So Here, let me bring this one up.
So, are trans guys allowed to go into lesbian bars? At what point do you move from a butch lesbian to a male ally? I think it's complicated. Personally, I identify a lot with being a trans guy, but I also identify a lot with the lesbian community. I feel like I have very deep roots in the lesbian community. It's what I was socialized as. I share many of the same experiences as lesbians, and most of my friends are still sapphic. And I definitely feel more comfortable being in lesbian bars than gay male bars or straight bars. But I also understand that as I'm physically transitioning more, and eventually if I do pass a lot, then I might start to make people feel uncomfortable in lesbian bars. And I've been thinking about this recently because of the cubbyhole controversy about the straight man going into a lesbian bar, which I definitely think cis-het straight men should not be intruding on lesbian spaces. But I think with trans guys, it is more complicated, especially when so many trans guys might still have a deep connection to the lesbian label. But also, trans men are men and should not be going into woman-exclusive spaces. So I think I've kind of been grappling with the contradiction between transitioning more and becoming a lot more happier with myself and my appearance, but also maybe losing a sense of community and losing the degree of belonging that I have in certain former feminine or lesbian spaces.
Look, here's the problem that I have, okay? At least the person is kind of admitting that maybe because they're becoming a man, but why are you even having that conversation with yourself, okay? Or putting it out into the world? When you transition to live your life as a man or a trans man, guess what? You don't get everything you want. I'm sorry. That's one of the things that you lose in transition. This is why we need to be very, very, very upfront about transitioning and the things that you actually have to give up when you transition. You got to give that up, dude. You're no longer a lesbian. You're now identifying as a dude, and that's what you want to be. Be respectful of the space and move on and find community in other space. There's many other places you can find community with. Okay, why don't you respect the women and give them their spaces? I really, it's not that difficult. It really isn't. It might be hurtful. It might suck. You might want to go hang out in the lesbian bar, but don't do it. Okay, just don't do it, because really, the bottom line is this. Okay, when you make commitment to transition from a female to male, you now have to take on the commitment to live your life in that space. I don't understand. I feel like I'm just like talking to banging my head against the wall. It's really, really simple. Trans men are not lesbians, okay? Unless you want to do that in your private life and you're all of that, you go right ahead. But you lose your right to be a lesbian, period. I actually fell into a long, deep, dark hole of what it means to be a lesbian. It was just like, I couldn't even believe some of the stuff people were saying.
I know this is a very hard concept for you people to grasp, but you can't define other people on their behalf. Like, labels are personal. Like, it's not meant for you to understand and meant for you to approve. It's for that person and their personal feelings. Like, it has actually nothing to do with you. Like, when I say it has nothing to do with you, it has nothing to do with you. There's nothing to debate because it's about people's personal preferences and lived experiences. There is nothing to debate. Go to work, clock in, find something to do. That is your business, because other people's sexuality is not it.
Oh, wow. Excuse me, but it's literally their business. When you are encroaching on other people's... So here's the hypocrisy of this whole space, okay? Stop telling people how to identify. It's their own space. They can identify. The hypocrisy is out of control. Yet when somebody says, don't call me a cis woman, you can't handle it, and now you have to say... You all pick these people's identity for them. Secondly... If you can read that right there, it says trans men cannot be lesbians. They are men, period. First, you guys, oh my God. First, you want to be identified as male and men. And then now you also want to be identified as lesbians. What is it? Which is it? What do you want? And no, you can't. You're the one who's telling people how to identify their man or ma'am or Mr. I don't even know. I can't tell what's going on there. But that being said, you're the one who's actually telling people how to identify. And yes, we can tell you you're not a lesbian, because you're not a lesbian. You're only a lesbian if you're a woman who loves a woman. It's like, I don't even know. I just feel completely out of my mind. I actually do. I feel out of my mind. I actually found like so many of these I had to pick because all of them are just totally insane. I'm basically saying the same thing over and over to these people.
Nobody has the right to tell trans men what their sexuality is. Nobody has the right to tell trans men that they cannot be lesbians. Please watch the full video before you go angrily type on my comments. I want you to imagine something. You are born, you have a vagina, you're assigned a female at birth. You are raised in a cis heterosexual society that has cis heterosexual expectations from you. You grow up with the expectations of what a woman needs to be, who a woman needs to love. Women are feminine, women love men. But internally you know that you are not about that, and you start feeling like there's something wrong with you. You grow up not hearing a whole lot about trans people. However, as you grow, you start hearing more about lesbians and women that love women. And then suddenly something clicked. Oh, I was born with a vagina, so I must be a woman that loves women. You come out to your family and they have different reactions. Maybe they kick you out. Maybe they send you to church. Maybe they send you to conversion therapy. And then suddenly your home doesn't feel like a home anymore. Wow. So you go find a new home. You meet other lesbians. You make a community with lesbians. You go to gay bars. You learn to love women as a woman. Because that's all you know and that's all you understand. Then, after many years, you learn about gender identity. And something deeply inside of you knows that there's more than what you already know. So while maybe your expression was already masculine, you start learning about what being transgender is, what that feels like. You start recognizing what your dysphoria is, and then you come out as a trans man. However, being a lesbian has been your home for years. The lesbian community has been your home for years. Not just a label, not just a guideline, it's been your home. But then all of a sudden, because you're now out as a trans man, there's people that are trying to kick you out of your home. There's people.
You're not kicked out. You've literally given away your right to be in that space. You see how it's actually shocking that they were on the right track there for a little while, yeah? And then you realize you're actually a trans man, whatever that means, in your gender, and now they're trying to kick you out. No one's kicking you out, friend. You actually are no longer a lesbian once you commit to becoming a trans man. Why is that so hard? I just really want to know, to anybody out there in the comments, why is this so hard to understand? Once you transition to live as a man, you no longer get the right to be in lesbian spaces. Deal with it. Create your own club. Go make queerdo clubs and non-binary clubs and whatever other clubs. But why do you have to take on women's spaces? You're not welcome. Okay, you look like a dude. You think you're a dude. All of those things. Move on in the world. I'm going to leave you all with this, okay? Because it's really starting to frustrate me on some level as an elder trans man. One thing I learned through my 32 years of transition is you don't always get what you want. It was difficult for me when I first transitioned. Everyone turned against me. It was actually like, you're not, and I didn't really get it until I grew up and became mature and understood, yeah, you're right. I'm not welcome in that space anymore because look at me. And also, I don't want to be a woman anymore. I want to be a man. So I'm just telling you all, you don't get to be in that space. It's real simple. Have some respect for the women. Most of the lesbians I know don't want you there, okay? Be respectful towards lesbians, okay? Stop redefining their space to make you feel comfortable. Thanks for watching. Remember, like, subscribe. I really appreciate you all so much. The channel's growing like mad. I hope you enjoyed this video. Wow, wow, wow. Just wow. Have an awesome day.